Hello, everybody. I'm going to pause this. Here we go. Hello, folks, and welcome to the Parent Advocate Network, brought to you by the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. We are here to help. Rules: no profanity, no drinking on the show, be respectful of everybody. Everybody has 5 minutes to speak about a subject, and then others will have a chance to respond. Please raise your hand if you have a question or would like to make a comment. And we're talking about a lot of different things tonight, and I would like to begin our meeting with a prayer request that Kelly Marie Mueller has asked us to present. So, Thomas, it is my pleasure to give you the floor to share what you have put together for our prayer request tonight. Hold on, let's unmute.
Hello, sorry, it took me a little bit longer. I tried uploading it onto my computer, and then my computer decided it wasn't cooperating with me and shut off in the middle of it. So I ended up having to update it over onto my phone and then pull it up through the computer. So just bear with me while I pull it up. All right, right there it is.
So this is our first actual prayer request at the beginning of a show. We want to start offering prayer requests here on the Parent Advocate Network for all parents who are fighting the system, who are fighting for their rights as parents to bring their families home. And so this is really a wonderful thing for Tom to be working with us on and making possible. Kelly has been fighting for 4 years for her son, Michael, and he was only 2 months old when he was taken away from her. This was a very devastating blow, and there was no warrant for removal, and she is about to go to a appeal pretrial hearing, and she has been having difficulty with her attorneys, which are court-appointed attorneys, and they are not willing to represent her as they're supposed to, as a client. They do not want to talk about the lack of warrant before removal. They do not want to talk about the collusion incidents between the hospital, Children's Mercy South Hospital in Kansas, and the Department of, DFS. That's the acronym. I'm not sure.
Right, yeah.
And so we just want everybody to send good thoughts and prayers that she will have her case overturned and she will be able to reunite with her young 4-year-old son, Michael, once again. And yeah, it just breaks my heart every time I hear this, because my son, he's now going to be 7 in April. This is my son, but he was removed from me when he was 6 months old. So my heart goes out to you. I totally understand what you're going through and have been going through for the past 4 years. And so, Scott, are you there? I wanted to introduce Scott Toppled for tonight. He's a new board member here at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. I have been working with him for many years, actually, in the capacity of trying to get my children back, and he has a lot of experience working with and against CPS. There are always cases that should be processed in the department, but not nearly as many as we see every day. And Scott, are you able to be heard?
He's having some technical difficulties because I can't see him on my screen over here, and we still can't hear him. So he's having some technical difficulties.
Okay, so I need to do something here for our. Why is it not letting me change it? Still learning this.
Did you get an email about the webinars on how to work through Zoom?
Yeah, I just haven't had the time to actually do it.
Right.
So now, Thomas, go for it. You're cued now.
Actually, it's telling me that you have web screen sharing off.
I just turned it right back on.
All right, if it turns it back, all right, there it is.
All right, so this is Kelly and her son, Michael. And we are all praying for your reunification with your son.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go.
All right. Can you guys see anything right now? It's like,
yes.
This is the first time can you see down, this is what I want you to see.
All right, Nancy Schaefer, may she always be remembered for being a true warrior for all families that are dealing with Department of Children and Families CPS and have lost their children as a result of corruption in this department.
Like you said something about no music, so there is no music. Lyra, you said about doing a prayer request, so there is no music.
And we want you, Kelly, to know that we're all here for you, and we all pray that you will succeed on March 6th at 9 a.m. in Kansas City.
Thank you.
And
yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
It's a hard battle to have your children return to you from this corrupt system, and I applaud you for your persistence and perseverance in this fight, because it requires that parents stand up for their rights and don't give up. Never ever give up. There is always another step you can take to be that much closer to bringing your child home once again. And every child deserves to be with their parents. Every child deserves to have their parents in their lives. And it's truly tragic. And, positive thoughts. You will
work.
persevere. It will work. And if it doesn't at this step, you have another step you can take after this. You have many more steps.
Okay.
And Brian Kinter is here tonight, and he'll give you some information. I'm sure he's good at offering advice and information. He's done a lot and spent years and had his children returned to him after filing criminal charges in court against those who had committed fraud.
Right, yeah.
And I would like to just add to it, we just want you to know that we are, like Lyra said, we are here in support of you. Don't ever think that you're alone. We are all in this as together as a family. No situation is going to be looked out, down upon. we all, one thing we can relate to each other is in the end and every night before we, I guess you can say go to bed, one thing we can all say that we all have in common is that, we're fighting this fight, and we're all fighting this fight for the same exact reason. And you know that?
Yeah, I do. I do know that, yes.
So don't be afraid to reach out, we want to help and support you as much as we can as everybody else, and
right.
It's just a matter of there's 90% of the time there's always going to be somebody available, no matter what.
No matter what, that's what we do. We're here to help.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to also say here is that I don't have any religious church that I go to or anything. I have my faith, though. My faith in God and all that is, and I am one with all that is. And I have faith that my prayers and intentions combined with everybody else's prayers and intentions for your success in this fight against DFS there in Kansas City, that you will succeed. And it is our combined thoughts and beliefs and our belief and faith that this is going to be successful, and that bring that strength to all of those parents out there who are struggling to regain their rights, to maintain their rights, and to bring their families back together. And so we are here for all of you, and we want you to know that this is what we do. We want to help you in every way we can, and that's spiritual, it's legal, health and safety, everything.
They're just talking about it. Okay.
Hi, Marge.
Hi. Yeah, this is my
welcome.
Mom. Yeah.
So, no, that's all right. Tom, don't worry. You did a great job there. Thank you so much for putting that together for us tonight. I know that it was on short notice, and so I really appreciate you putting it together. That was awesome.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
You're absolutely welcome.
Yeah, they showed some pictures of Michael.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
And so, Kelly, did you want to tell us a little bit more about your experience with DFS?
Yes, I would. Okay, first of all, back in 2013 of August, of October, my son got taken away. Before that, he was having trouble gaining weight, and he was having trouble with failure to thrive too, and I was trying to help find answers on why he was doing that, and so we took him to Children's Mercy South Hospital, which was not a good idea, because they first of all, they put me under a 72-hour watch to see if I knew how to take care of my son while he was in the hospital, and so I was trying to do everything that I could do, and they said that I didn't know how to take care of my son, but that was not true. And they just said, I'm trying to figure out. Oh, they said that since I had like some learning problems, and they thought since I had learning disabilities, they thought I couldn't take care of my son. which is not true because I know how to take care of my son, even though I have my learning disabilities does not affect my taking care of my son. And they just trying to figure out
Did they have you on watch while you said they had you on a 72-hour watch while your son was in the hospital to see if you could take care of your child? Does that mean that you did not have your child at the time they had you on a 72-hour watch?
I had my son while I was at the hospital. But you want to go? You want to take?
Okay. Basically, well, in August when Michael was in there the first time, Children's Mercy Hospital South, DFS somehow contacted Children's Mercy, and the two of them worked together from August the 20th on till Michael was taken on ways to set it up so that Michael could be taken from Kelly. And on the 72-hour watch, this was supposed to be, it was like a punishment in a way, because she was to do everything. She was change his diapers, feed him, break his do his food. If he spilt any, well, that was held against her. They checked on how often the diapers were filled. They wouldn't help her though. And as I said, I would, if I had to pay for it, I would not pay for it because the hospital did nothing. And they wouldn't even, Michael was ready to go home, but they decided that Kelly needed to finish her 72 hours. And I just, I don't know. And then when they did talk to Kelly about what Michael's problem was, they said it was her fault. They said that she caused it. She didn't feed him right. Somewhere they got the idea that she only fed him at 1.5 ounces, which is not true. But the interesting thing is that the pediatrician who had seen Michael before he went into the hospital saw him at least 9 different times, and every one of those times he wrote down that Michael was well nourished and well hydrated, but he had failure to thrive. And the doctor indicated that he got failure to thrive. He ended up having failure to thrive starting the week after he was born. So I have questions as to whether or not there are some vaccines involved in this problem. Anyway.
I'm sorry to interrupt. How old was the child at the time this happened?
He was 2 months old.
So before he left the hospital, like when he was born, everything was fine. How long were you in the hospital at the time of his birth?
3 to 5 days.
3 to 5 days that we were there. So,
there wasn't any, at that point, there wasn't any sign of the failure to thrive.
Right.
The doctor wrote that it seemed to start about a week after he was born.
Right.
Yeah, here's my question, and it's something that I know Lyra may be looking into or may not be, but what I'm trying to understand is, how can somebody be judged upon taking care of a child in a hospital versus a house? A hospital, you do not have everything that you need for a child versus at your house. So therefore, and I ask myself as the same thing is, how can they make a guess or even only on somebody with a few hours versus what they really are outside of a hospital, and how is a hospital able to, we're supposed to be protected by the HIPAA Privacy Act. How can a hospital be allowed and get away with disclosing confidential information of any parent? 90% of these cases start with a child in the hospital. And you know what? The hospital is the one that normally calls them, because I would love for somebody to tell me I'm wrong, but if I'm wrong, then how do they have as much information on a parent as well as a child that is just born? You know, this is a system that has been set up to benefit none of us as parents. You know, it's a system that was set up to take advantage of us and take everything from us, as far as, you know, even our children. You know, our children should not be used as a toy, should not be used as a weapon. You know, our children are everybody's pride, you know, and any parent that is fighting these guys, I would have to say that that's a parent that cares, because if somebody didn't care, then you wouldn't be fighting for what is right. And if it wasn't for people that...
I'm sorry, I gotta stop you because you're starting to get all muffled in there. Maybe you need to pull the phone away from your mouth or something.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for people and parents like us fighting for change, you know, this could get a lot worse.
Well,
you know, we are our voices. We are the voices of our children as well as future generation.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to say this too, because my thing is this, having, you know, survived all of the anxiety and post-traumatic stress symptoms that I've experienced myself, not saying, you know, that that's what the issue may have been, because that's still a judgment. That's still an improper judgment, because there are ways to facilitate and treat individuals who have any form of disability, from learning to physical to whatever, okay? So, but I know personally that if I were under a microscope, I would not be acting naturally. Okay.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be able to do what I would normally do on a daily basis, being under a microscope all the time, you know? And so automatically, you know, if somebody, it's like being in a cage, you know, if somebody's watching me and I know somebody's watching me, you know, I mean, I could like fumble and drop something or whatever. My nerves would have in the past been really, really shot just because of that. And so automatically, when you put somebody in a setting like that, it doesn't matter what it is, incarceration, in the hospital, while you're watching somebody take care of their newborn baby. Okay, well, first and foremost, it's also a newborn baby. They don't come with manuals.
Yeah.
You're not able to know how to do everything perfectly. And I take this, Kelly, that was this is your first child, your only child,
Yes,
correct? Okay,
yes,
so, you know, having a child, having your first child, having a second child and a third child, you become a little more adept in child raising and rearing. However, if I personally were under a microscope with my first child, my newborn infant, and I was doing it by myself under that microscope, automatically that would tell me that that was a setup for my failure in that situation. That's my opinion.
Well, they threatened. They threatened her. The one social worker, the second day she was there, said that if she didn't let Children's Mercy hospital care come out, that they would call the hotline. The next day, one of the doctors said that they were going to call the hotline if she didn't accept Children's Mercy health care. And then the other time, actually there was a third time, because the third time they were working with her and they were saying, well, they didn't know whether everything was negative. Anything she did there was always something wrong with. And then they said, okay, well, if you don't understand this and you can't do it, then we'll have to call the hotline.
Wow.
What do they mean by understanding can't doing? So nobody took time out after this was ordered to actually go in and assist in recorrecting anything that may have not been to a T in child rearing?
Did what?
In raising a baby, nobody came in and said, here, let me show you how to do this?
So,
Oh,
like,
No, they didn't.
no, they
No, they
didn't.
didn't.
But they also like supposed to count the diapers and whether how many diapers she should have, and then they also this is another thing. This is her first time child, and she had to give Michael the medicine. There were no nurses that are going to give it. She had to give it. And
Well, you know what? That's wrong right there, because they should,
The hospital.
the hospital should have been responsible to take care of that. When a child is born, they are supposed to be there to help you. And, when somebody says that they don't understand or they need assistance, that is where the system fails each and every one of us.
yes.
And the fact of the matter, they can't, what my question is what guidelines, and I would love to know what guidelines and what manuals they go by themselves and what they look for in each of us as parents, because everybody has different beliefs and not one of us are the same. The way we handle or raise our children, everybody raises their children different, have different beliefs and what they do and how they do it.
Right.
That's our fundamental rights right there that we are being denied by
And I feel,
agencies.
I'm sorry, Lyra.
No, it's all right.
I feel that systems take advantage of individuals who have been diagnosed. They take advantage of the fact that, okay, well, 9 times out of 10, a person is not going to read the fine print on paperwork anyway. This is any of us. None of us, we've all gotten in a bad habit of taking paperwork, scanning through it, signing it, and it's done. And we don't take the time out to take our own microscopes and really look at it and say, okay, so what does the fine print say? What does the print period say? Okay. And so if an individual who has a learning disability is handed paperwork to sign, okay, and so you're going to take their child, why did you have them sign the paperwork? If you're going to take a person's child, why would you even have that person sign that paperwork? Why wouldn't a proxy have done that? That's,
Absolutely.
Why isn't there an individual to sit down and say, okay, we're going to go over this, and sometimes, yes, some cases, okay, do you understand? But they run through it so quick. This is with any form of paperwork. And so, I really feel that individuals with disabilities especially are really looked down on and taken advantage of when it comes to any form of formal writing whatsoever.
Right. Well, I know that the other thing.
And you know what the problem?
What?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. The other thing is that they didn't. They didn't do anything for Kelly. She had to. She was the new mother. It had only been 2 months since she had a child, but they did not give her any breaks. She was to take care of him 24/7. No time for just time for her to figure out where she's going to fit sleep in without anybody's help.
So now this setting, okay, so this was like a panic room setting is what you're saying. It was basically what was the facility like that this happened at?
It was at a
hospital.
It was at a hospital. It's called Children's Mercy South Hospital, and this was just like taken in one of their rooms,
medical
rooms. So
it was medical room. Michael was the only patient in there.
Yeah, Michael was and I was.
Then he was having trouble. He was having trouble with acid reflux. He was having trouble with. When he drank his bottle, almost all of it would come up sometimes.
Yeah.
And so he
the bottle.
But they really, Children's Mercy really did not really look for a whole lot.
Right.
They just decided that it was Kelly's fault. They changed the formula, that's all. But the interesting thing is, Michael, in 2016, under the care of the foster parent, the doctor said that he was concerned about Michael having failure to thrive. So that as I said, they can't blame Kelly, but it's interesting that he still had it when he wasn't in Kelly's care.
So I know, Margie, that you had spoken about that you had that you thought that maybe it had to do with the vaccines. How long before this all started happening with Michael physically did he receive the vaccinations?
Well, there were 2 vaccinations that he had before he started having this trouble. I don't know. I have to check into it.
I think it was after. I think it was after. Well, two of them that he had like after he was after
he was born.
Yeah, after he was born and all that.
But he's had like 17 shots now, and so I don't know where it stands. I don't know. They've never asked Kelly for anything advice on his medical status. They do things such as a genetic study, and Kelly said she would prefer not to have him have one, and they went ahead and did it anyway, and they didn't tell us what the results were. So we weren't able to go that day, but ever since then, we've really not had a clear picture of what's going on with Michael and his medical care. He has delays, but I have experience as a teacher who worked with children with special needs, and I really feel that I could best help him by working with him on different things. That the judge said, well, the judge said the foster mother she was a nurse, so she could take care of him. That's not what Michael's needs.
No, every child, especially a child with disabilities, needs their parents, and there is no reason that they should be removed. And I know, Kelly, that you have some disabilities as well, and so that I know that was a part of why they targeted you, and I do really apologize for what happened to you. This is something that happened to me and many other parents, and it is totally and completely wrong. It is against our constitutional rights. We got to start standing up for our constitutional rights.
Yeah.
I would like to see, apparently Tom has his hand raised. If Tom, if you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions, as you know. Well, a couple questions, and first off, Kelly, I don't care, as being a supporter to you, as someone that's been involved in it and knows how, I guess you can say, backwards the system is. The system isn't here to benefit you or I. The system ultimately is, and you know what, it ain't even a system. It is a major corporation, that they are using our kids as a weapon and as a tool to, make us, or attempt to make us do what they want. So don't let them tell you that it's your fault unless it was directly your fault. Nobody can tell you that something's your fault based on, your disability. Just because you have a disability does not mean that, and it should not be a reason that they are targeting you. If you think about it, probably each and every one of us has a disability, or in one way, shape, or form, whether it's bipolar, depression, anxiety. They are all a disability. So why they targeted you is not, I would like to know. The fact that they did, they should have never done it.
Right.
And,
The judge in his decision to terminate her rights said that she has a mental illness that was not incurable soon, so she wouldn't be able to take care of Michael. This was based on reports by the neuropsychological report and the psychological report. But when they gave her the testing, they made no accommodations for her disability.
Yeah.
Okay, so what my question is for you is, if I understood correctly, you said the judge made this decision based
Yes,
on
he did.
a
Yes,
test
he
that
did.
they did on you?
Yes, he did. That's a
Yes.
very
My question is for you.
Huh?
What kind of test was it?
One was a
What kind of test was it?
assessment, and then so was the other psychological. But I read the psychological report over, and based a lot of her conclusions were based on assumptions. They were not based on testing.
That's exactly what I was getting at, was what, how can somebody go by a question and answer and be able to determine what an individual is going to be like or is like? That's making an educational guess. And, if you put 50 people in a room, have them do the exact same test, I can almost guarantee you that everybody's going to answer everything different.
Well, they didn't.
Yeah.
She has a vision problem, which makes her. She only reads with her left eye because her right eye floats. So basically, it takes her, according to the doctor, it takes her 2.5 times more to read a line of print than other people. Okay, they did not allow for
Well,
that.
you know what, that's not exactly. And you know what, that's where they are in the, they should have took the time and not knowing that, instead of using it to their advantage, they should have helped and assist you, and not, everybody should be looked at as an individual, not as a whole. And with them knowing that, that's where they failed you. They should have assisted and gave you the assistance you needed to get
based on your individual needs. And this is the stereotype that they are very well known for. And they'll stereotype people of all faiths and age groups. It doesn't matter,
The caseworker over and over kept saying Kelly would not be able to take care of Michael because she couldn't understand what to do. She looked at Kelly as mentally disabled instead of the fact that she has these disabilities that have nothing to do with her learning. They don't affect the learning area.
No, they don't.
They're all three communication problems of being able to process the information, and it takes her longer to process information. She can understand it, but it takes her. You have to give her longer. But as I said, the caseworker and even the guardian ad litem, they all said, "Oh well." She said, Kelly can't take care of herself. The guardian ad litem said in court, well, Kelly can't take care of herself. I don't know how she can take care of Michael. This was after all evidence was given.
And I'm gonna say that during at this time I'm taking care of my mom. If I know how to take care of my mom, I do know how to take care of my son too.
I just recently had a heart attack, so that's what
yeah,
she's been.
Yeah. I've been I'm trying to take care of her and everything. I know how to call 911 if there's an emergency and everything. I know how to do that. I know how to do everything.
Well, the other thing is the parent aides constantly in their report were not talking about Kelly's progress. They constantly were trying to decide whether Kelly was showing anger or not toward me. And the one last parent aide, she told Kelly that she was doing very well. Well, in the courtroom, she said Kelly wasn't doing well. So we didn't, so the case, all of the parent aides were not a help. In fact, they were a detriment to her progressing.
This is a tragedy that many parents are facing, and Mim has risen her hand and would like to ask a question. Go for it.
I have several questions. This is another example of how the system takes advantage of disadvantaged person, of disabled individuals within the courtroom, because again, it boils down to different forms of paperwork, who your public defender or who your lawyer is going to be. I assume that this was a public defender that you had, Kelly?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How long did trial last, if there was even a trial? Was there a trial?
Yes.
Yes, it lasted about 4 days.
4 days over a stretch of 3 months.
3 months.
Now,
Wow.
during the trial, and you said this was a trial of 4 days over 3 months, and the entire time that you were having this trial, did you have Michael in your custody during trial?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now, during the trial and during the court hearings, did they review the paperwork from doctors, or did they review the videos?
Did they review the videos? I don't think they reviewed
They
them.
didn't. Okay. To my knowledge, they did not review the videos.
Did they show the doctor's report?
No, they didn't show Dr. Graham's reports. No, they didn't.
Everybody ignoring Dr. Graham's report, which says he was well hydrated, he was
well nourished,
but he had failure to thrive. And their attitude is Kelly's guilty. She didn't. When the very first hearing we had, Kelly or our lawyer, neither one was allowed to say anything.
Wow. So Tom wanted to say, go for it, Tom. Sorry.
Yeah. First off, they put everybody in a situation, and, with these trials and things like that, to be quite honest with you, I'm shocked, because personally myself, if it lasted 3 months, if I'm not misunderstanding, you said 3 months it lasted?
Yes.
For it to last 3 months.
But for it to make it,
yes.
But for it to make it that long, I'm very surprised, because 90% of the time they push it a lot faster. Now my next question for you is, though.
Right. Wait a minute. Mim had another question she wanted to.
Well, no, not so much. But Thomas was saying that, that does sound a little suspicious to me as far as the courts are concerned, especially since they do normally, when you're under a public defender, or even a lawyer. And of course, I have not been involved in any hearings as far as children are concerned, other than a protective order. But they would have tried to have pushed that along a little bit further, unless they may have been. Okay, so here's my question. Were you at that point in time, whenever they had this trial period of 3 months, were you in some sort of treatment during these 3 months as far as your disability?
Okay, with my disability, I was doing counseling, and then we had to do family counseling too. At different times.
But the interesting thing of that was, she was to do family counseling, and that's another thing the judge says, that Kelly did not do what she was supposed to. Well, part of the problem was that the caseworker in the June of 2015 was told that we were supposed to have counseling, both of us. Okay, the caseworker did not get a therapist until July 25th. That caseworker, that therapist ended up quitting October the 2nd, and we told the caseworker that we don't have a therapist. She did nothing about it. She assumed that Kelly was getting counseling through this program that she was with in Rediscover. But it turned out that in this other program, she had to wait a while before she could get a counselor. So during all that time, we had no counselor, and the caseworker knew it. But then the judge said, well, she didn't really do what the judge, what she was ordered to do.
All right.
I was gonna say something.
Go.
During at that time, I was doing a mental health health classes too, and normally the classes run through like 6 months to 12 months, and I did it all the way through 6 months. And there was my health coordinator told me I did an awesome job. I did all the paperwork that I was supposed to do and everything, and plus they gave me like a certificate of awards that I did and everything. Plus I showed that to the court to the judge, and I guess the judge didn't really the judge didn't really
the lady in charge of it testified in court.
Yeah, she testified in court too.
Testified that she had done so well. More than most people.
Wow.
Right.
But again, he stated that she didn't do anything. That she was basically only interested in getting help for herself. She didn't really care about Michael.
Right.
And the other thing is that we were supposed to supply clothing, food, clothing and food for Michael while he was in DFS custody. Well, all along we kept buying clothes for him. We bought toys for him. We bought high chair, that kind of thing, and we did that all along. But when the judge asked the foster parent if Kelly gave anything, she shook her head no in court.
Wow. Tom, you had a question?
I have a couple of them.
Awesome.
First off, I know you said, like I said, and Mim agreed. First off, I still can't seem to understand why they pushed it so long. So, to me, and if I'm wrong, somebody correct me, they were putting everything to make it look like it is your fault. But to me, that almost seems like they were, and this is how they work. They were looking and trying to find reasons and excuses to be able to take him. And at the same time, make it look like it was your fault.
Right.
And then it goes to I
was going to say the one thing that...
Go ahead, Kelly.
That he... Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
All right. My next question...
Oh, before...
My next question, though, I do have for you is...
The judge not only took 3 months to do it, he waited 3 more months before he gave his decision.
Okay.
And his decision followed DFS line of opinion.
Yeah, well, and back to that, what I was going to ask is, when you did have court, I know you said that at one point they didn't listen to or didn't want to hear what you or your attorney had to say. So that raises my next question as into, what evidence did they have against you to be able to make their determination that you could not take care of him? And, at the other token is Kelly, I believe it's your mom in the background. My question for her is, was she looked at in any way, shape, or form by the agency as another source or a resource to you or support to you for Michael to stay with you, or even like a kinship where your mother had custody?
Well, they wouldn't let okay, they wouldn't let my mom have custody of.
Well,
of Michael. I don't
the
think
strange
so.
thing of the whole, okay, in 1991, Kelly was in foster care, and I adopted her through foster care. Okay, at that time, I realized what DFS does to people. And the other thing is that, okay, they decided that in the, okay, the lawyer, okay, he was always deciding like Kelly had told them that Nancy Schaefer had been killed and was thought to be done by CPS, and so they just laughed at that and said, and the DFS lawyer said in court, well, does she have delusions to the therapist? And the therapist said yes, which is not true, but they just, as I said, they kind of belittled her. The other thing is Kelly had been raped, and they blamed her for the rape, that she didn't use good sense.
This is heartbreaking. This is truly heartbreaking. And here Tom is. He's just overwhelmed with grief, and you know, we could go on and on. Mim, I want to give you one more opportunity for a statement, but we do have other things that are actually positive that I would like to share here for everybody. So Mim, go for it.
So basically right now I'm just going to give my suggestions. Now I'm going to make a statement beforehand. I am not a paralegal. I am not an attorney. The only thing I can do is give suggestions. I cannot give you any actual legal advice because I do not have a license. But my suggestion would be at this point in time to make sure that all the paperwork that is needed for anything that might possibly progress at this point in time. I have a list of different forms of paperwork and documentation that I feel would be beneficial for you guys to have. And I'll type them in the chats, or Lyra, as I'm going down it, maybe you can type this in the chats for me.
Okay.
You're going to need the birth documents at the time of the release, from the time of birth to the release. Get all of that documentation. You need to have you need to have court minutes from this 3-month, 4-day trial. There needs to be receipts for purchases for anything that it doesn't matter if you have all of them, it does not matter. Any form of receipt for the purchases that were made in order to give Michael what he needed while he was with DCSF. The paperwork from the 72-hour watch, as well as any form of documented doctor's notes and video footage, which is going to be an interesting task, I feel like.
I missed that. Hold on, I missed that. I was still writing the other part.
Okay. Any documentation, doctor's notes, video footage, documentation from the 72-hour watch. Statements from the counselors that were giving you certificates and involved in this, that were telling you on the positive up and ups. You need to have statements written out from these counselors, and you need to have all of this, especially this part, notarized. Also, you need a list of all the official names of individuals that were involved with this from the time of birth until the time the child was taken into custody, until the time that this trial period, this original trial, the 3-month, 4-day trial, as well as the continuation over this entire time period. There needs to be a list of names in a chronological order. And then the big thing on this list is the reviewing of the 72-hour footage. because with that 72-hour footage, that's going to assist in determination of how many times you actually did ask for help. And I want to apologize if there's any offense taken here, because this is not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a standpoint of assisting you. But within that 72-hour footage, that is going to really give a lot of detail. Forget about the notes necessary, but that's going to show when you asked for help, what you asked for help with. It's going to tell everything right there. Okay. So did you get that list?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right here. Yeah, I
Okay. Does it sound like I left any form of paperwork off of there, or any kind of documentation, anything? Does
No,
you have anything to add to that?
Okay.
Ma'am, I think you pretty much covered pretty much all of it. And at the same token, Kelly, I'm like Mim said, I'm not an attorney either. I'm here to assist and support you as a parent, and fight for, a system that violates, our Constitution, our civil rights, and our amendments. And if you would, I'll be more than happy. Just feel free to reach out to me. I can be found on Facebook as Thomas L. Crane.
Okay.
And I would be more than happy and willing to get with you and assist you with getting everything we need, and make sure we have all of it so that we can go forward with this and help get Mikey back home.
Okay. The one thing I just kind of like to know is our attorneys don't really believe that the judge. They just believe that they disagree with his decision, but the judge made up a lot of facts in the decision, and he based things on things that weren't true. So I'm just a little concerned of whether that's going to affect the case or not.
Okay, well, Brian, I don't know if you've been following this conversation, but I think it's your turn.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. First of all, I want to apologize for the horrors that you have discovered while going through our present-day legal system. The second thing that I want to say is that my forte or specialty is that I enjoy suing judges. That's what I do. Third thing is, and I am not an attorney, but I do work with a number of attorneys from across the country. In fact, we just recently had a major victory in Texas where the federal courts have now deemed that the trial courts are unconstitutional. So we're excited about that. The fourth thing is that I think that there's a lot of striking similarities and contentions there within your case that would clearly illuminate the judge's preconceived bias and his own personal sentiments simply predicated upon your disability, that he drew his own conclusions that wasn't supported by the facts. And regardless, if there is no facts, that it has to go into a jury setting. You have to I believe, take an action in the federal court going after the judge for violating your God-given constitutionally protected unalienable rights. And there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people that say this, but I want to tell you this, is that since 1998, I've been involved with a number of groups across the country, looking at the dynamics of the overreach of our judicial system. And what I'm saying is that I encourage everyone on this call tonight to look at what we're doing with Opt-in USA, because right now on the 23rd of this month, we will have two people at the United Nations speaking about the violations of the ICCPR and President Trump's recent executive order. We're saying that the judicial system has now changed from halls of justice to a mere racketeering organization. And what we need to do in your particular case, I believe, is look at what is the judge's incentive to be able to take this child away from you, and how the state draws funding from that to be able to place this child in a foster care setting or environment. I really encourage you to reach out to myself. I'm on Facebook there. I run the JAM, the Judicial Accountability Movement. I also encourage you to send us whatever you would have, because what we're trying to do right now, we have over 2,000 cases. We have established the policies, the practices, and the procedures in which the court operates to violate your due process rights in order for us to establish a pattern to be able to present to Congress. And I will be down there in April of this year. And then again in July, we will be at the Whistleblower Summit to be able to talk about the proliferation of abuse going on in your case. But we need to try to come alongside of you as an individual to help you. But I'm not an attorney, and my forte is taking your evidence to help corroborate our evidence that the judicial system has run amok in its time. Because if I jump in the water to save one child, the judicial process throws in another 10,000. It becomes a lesson in futility to keep going round and round. So I'm trying to get upstream to stop the proliferation of them throwing our children to the wolves, so to speak.
Brian, I do have a question for you. As far as I would, like to connect with you as well and get some data and information to you. And just for anybody else, can you once again, how can we find you on Facebook?
Well, I'm on the JAM, the Judicial Accountability Movement. That's my organization. I work in partnership with Restoring Freedom, with Amnesty International. I work with the Innocence Project, because we're saying that the overreach of the judicial system isn't just limited to the probate or juvenile issues, juvenile or domestic relations. That also borders across the lines into probate, into criminal law, and to every other aspect of it. And if we don't have oversight of our judicial process, we've lost it. And just as it is in this young lady's case here, where she draws a conclusion that there's certain factors that lead me to believe that the judge may very well have had a preconceived notion that she was not able. That's misguided. Okay, and he doesn't have that right. And here's what I know: what the U.S. Supreme Court has determined. The U.S. Supreme Court has established clearly that a parent's fundamental rights are the most sacred of all rights, and they cannot be abridged absence of a finding of unfitness of use by a clear and convincing standard. And the states have now twisted that to whereas it was to be enjoined to draw the perception that it's also on a preponderant standard. Do you understand?
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much, man. Absolutely. I want to put this out there. I was just typing to Lyra here. Anyone who would like to have some suggestions as to documentations that may need to be collected, please, feel free to have them reach out to me. I'll type my, well, I have 1 million Facebook pages, but I will give my email in the chat here. Let's see.
And I just want you to know, Brian, we all appreciate what you are doing with the judicial advocacy movement, and we're here to support you, and grateful that you have joined the Parent Advocate Network, and you put in information all the time on our message board, and helping parents is in that group as well. So we really appreciate that. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess there was a drop off there, but I wanted to talk about another issue that has come up, which is that I had a meeting yesterday with a few low-level workers that don't work in CPS, but they work with agencies that work with CPS. And what happens is CPS will refer parents to these organizations, and it's Project Sanctuary, which is an assistance project that helps victims of domestic violence and helps with paperwork and counseling and women's empowerment classes and the like. But and then the other one is Parent Partners, which is supposed to be helping parents to go through the process and get their children back. Both of these people came to me yesterday saying that they recognize that their respective departments are not doing the job that is to help parents get their children back. And they are frustrated because they're being told, don't look into this. Don't put this advocacy information for this parent don't write letters to support these parents, that they're actually being told not to learn what parental rights really mean and how parents can fight for their rights and maintain them and assert them in the courthouse and when dealing with the Department of Children and Families, CPS. And they came asking for assistance. And this is something that I've noticed recently. A lot of the low-level employees, like the newer employees, you know, there's always that pyramid scheme and stuff. These new employees are seeing there's something wrong and they have no idea what to do about it. And so what I've been asked to do, and I invite you all to join in helping put together this list, a list of process and procedure for parents to follow from point of entry into the services to point of reunification. And because some parents are in the middle of that, we have to be able to provide all of the different steps. It's kind of like, if this doesn't work and you end up in this court, what do you do? What have you been denied? What have you been accused of? And how do you proceed without the judge looking at you and giving you a gag order or shutting you down completely? And so this is starting to really get some traction. And I think that we can make a real difference in helping parents and families. And there are people in the system that know that it's broken and want it to be changed. And you know, we got to look for them and screen them and be careful who we talk to, because we don't want, you know, the enemy knowing everything that we're doing here. But there are those in the system that want to do things differently. And so I encourage everybody to reach out, see who's out there saying this is wrong, and I can do something about it.
Thank you.
We can all do something about it.
Right.
Kelly, I remember you and your mother from a show or from a call prior to this one. I believe I remember you guys being on with us once before, at least once before, several months ago.
Really?
No, I don't think it was Kelly. I spoke with Marge on the phone a few months ago before the heart attack, and I wanted to just actually say a little prayer for you, Marge, that you regain all of your strength and that your heart beats stronger than ever before. You are a wonderful advocate. You have provided so much information about disability rights and actions against parents with disabilities and laws that have been created to protect parents with disabilities. And so I am so grateful for your presence in this fight. And, you know, it's great that we have this connection of grandparents and parents working together. We want to be able to bring everybody into the fold. This is about community building and creating a system that's going to work, because the one that we have in place is totally broken. So
Absolutely. And Lyra, you know, with what you had to say, you know, now her name just
Kelly or Marge?
Marge, there you go. Marge, sorry. You know, with that being said, you know, also, you know, you have input, and, you know, the fact that you've been around a lot longer than I personally have. Nothing against you. But
Good thing.
that's another area that personally I deal with. So if you would reach out to me, I would, there's a lot of areas there's a lot of areas of this system that needs to be fixed and, addressed. So with that said, we'll go back to, the other area, but, I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. I was gonna say that at Saint, well, not Saint, but wait, Children's Mercy Children's Mercy Hospital, they told both of us that we were like a learning challenge. Well, my mom has, she's not a learning challenge, yeah, and neither am I. But yeah, to me, I may have some learning disabilities, but my mom has like she's been a lot long. She's been like she got her she graduated from high school. She got her bachelor's in reading, and she graduated from college and everything, and she got her master's in reading, and then she became a teacher and everything, and she taught first, second, third, and fourth, and she's she did like an amazing goals in her life and everything, and she and that's I was thinking when she has all those goals that she has done in her life, and the caseworker and one of the doctors kind of like put both of us down and everything that we have done in our life and everything too. But my mom has done a really good job in her life and everything, and I really do appreciate it too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? This irritates me more than anything, when it comes to children and it comes to our elderly, they're the two that they seem to target and attack, as well as any, family in general. And nothing irritates me more than that.
Right.
And that's why, each of us are here to fight, for change, and even our veterans. But bottom line is parents, elderly, our veterans do not get enough appreciation and enough respect that they deserve. We are all human beings. These people in authority, or they claim to be in authority, they get out of bed the same way you and I do. They are no different than you or I, unless I tell everybody, unless you get up out of bed and put your shirt on your legs and your pants on your head, you are no different. And these cops irritate the living heck out of me as well. You know what? Because they have a gun and a badge, they think they are better. No, they are not. You know what? Because you know what? I can carry a gun if I want to too. But what makes me better than them is I can carry concealed. I don't use my gun as a weapon. And you know what? If I needed a badge, I'll just go to the dollar store and get one. You know what? They need to be held accountable for what they do. And you know what? I am so tired, and I don't mean to rant and rave, but everybody should be treated equal. Just like a woman should be given the same opportunity as a man.
Right.
Just irritates the living heck out of me, and it drives me crazy. I'm sorry.
Right.
No, you're not. You're brilliant. Come on now. We don't say I'm sorry.
It drives all of us crazy, man. It drives all of us crazy. It's called otherization, and I'll just throw this in there. I did some research on the Trail of Tears, the Indian Trail of Tears, which happened right before the Irish potato famine, and the English expedited a bunch of the Irish out of there because they did something to them called otherization. It was called otherizing back in the day. Now it's racism. It's bigotry. It's
sexism.
Sexism. It's terrible. It's disgusting. It is, and it's a snowball effect. It's a karmatic effect, and it continues to do so until those of us who are like-minded individuals continue to assimilate with each other. Association causes assimilation, and of course that can go towards either pole. But that's why it's vital, very, very vital, that we continue to spread this message and put these words out here and and do this.
The laws of attraction.
Thank you. You beat me to it.
The laws of attraction. We attract what we think and what we say and what we feel. Okay? Now, this is a difficult thing for a lot of people to cope with in this
Behind contact me.
this battle, because so many parents are so traumatized that they don't have the inner strength within them to stand up for their rights. And when we talk about creating positive change in a person's life and the laws of attraction and using them to our strengthening and advantage, is to start changing the narrative in our minds. Okay, Kelly, you are not disabled. You are a wonderful, bright,
No, you're
young
not.
woman.
Right. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Marge, you are strong as a rock, and we are so grateful to have you with us today. And may
Thank
you
you.
live for many, many years. God bless you. And you know, we're
Absolutely.
today to talk about, you know, Kelly's strife, but what Kelly, I know that you're so traumatized by what happened to you. What I want you to do is start envisioning your son in your arms again.
I will. I always do.
Absolutely.
Always do.
Every day.
Absolutely,
Huh?
Kelly. I do want to say, you know what, and it goes with what you said, Lyra.
Wait, please.
You're cutting out there.
The bottom line is, you know, I don't care what this system has done to you, or you know how this system has labeled you as an individual. You know, but I do want you to know the system isn't here to build you up. The system's here to destroy you. But you know what? There's each and every one of us that are going to be back here to support you and help you. You know, don't be afraid to reach out. We can fight it. We can fight it. I look at it this way. You know, if we all stand together, we'll get what we want. We'll get justice. But you know what? We can't fight a system with wounded warriors. We gotta heal our warriors and fight together.
And strengthen
Right.
numbers.
Right,
But
yeah.
in the positive process here, you know, we're talking about positive change, creating, transforming that which is negative into positive is a very important endeavor for us all to work in creating. And like I said earlier, there are workers in the system that know it's wrong and don't know how to fight for families, you know, and what we want to do is create a system that we can present not only to the parents but to these advocates so that they can truly advocate for the parents like they want to, instead of following with the rest of the sheeple. So, you know, like Tom here says, and Mim and everybody, you know, united we are strong. United we will win. When we work together and set aside our differences, whatever they may be, because everybody lives a different life. Everybody is different.
Absolutely. And one thing I must add to that, you know what? Everybody uniting, coming together as a whole and getting their voices heard, as well as getting, you know, our children should ultimately have a choice and a voice in the matter. You know, one thing and aspect of this to look at it is you know what? Yes, we got a messed up system, but look at it this way. There's only a certain amount of people and there's only a certain amount of officials involved. You know, there is your different people, but they're numbered. Where us standing united as a whole, we keep growing where they don't. So you know what? We're going to outbeat them one way or another.
As long
You
as
know,
we
there's
do it together, united.
Absolutely.
And with that, I
Thank you.
wanted to say thank you for all of your participation tonight. We are here to help parents. We're here looking, actually right now, the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families and Parent Advocate Network is looking for other paralegal advocates to join our forces, and we're looking for therapists, counselors, psychologists who are still in the learning phase in school, or graduates, are graduating from college, to help with the creation of our safe houses. Well, they're sanctuary houses. We are working very diligently on that. And unfortunately, Scott was unable to speak tonight. His volume was not functioning. And so I want to apologize to everyone. I was hoping we'd be able to have his presentation tonight, but we'll be able to do it another night.
Okay.
And so I'm going to share this as our final little bit for everybody. And this is our ministry, which is derived from the Greek word diakoneo, meaning to serve in accordance with the law of one, God. The law of one. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. When one is healed, all are healed. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all that is, I ask that only that which is in the highest good of all concerned happen. And I give thanks that this is done. So be it, and so it is.
So it is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
This
And
is
like
for you and for all the parents and families out there struggling. We're here to help and provide some support for all of you. And we want you to not feel afraid to ask for help. We're here to do exactly that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at it this way, we're gonna have hurdles throughout it all, but you know what, as long as we're all here to back each other and keep positive, we can defeat the world if we wanted to. We got to keep and be here for each and every one of us. And once again, Kelly and Marge, like I said, Kelly, I'll give you a hand if you don't kind of gathering anything or answer any questions. Feel free to find me. I will do my best to help you so that we can get this taken care of. And Marge, like I said, there's a lot that I would like to discuss with you and, on other aspects of it all as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all again for joining tonight. And you're in my prayers, everyone, in my prayers.
Yeah.
May we all receive that which we deserve here and have our rights affirmed, strengthened, and upheld and met at every turn.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
You have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Too.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Yes.